Hey my friends, and welcome to this mini tutorial where I'm going to be showing you how to use Supabase authentication in your React Native Expo project. We have this app where you can enter your email and then password and then be able to click on sign up. And after signing up, you'll be able to receive an OTP sent to your mailbox. And you can see here we have received this email and we have this token, and then we click on confirm, and then immediately we'll get a session in our application, and then we're looking to see this home page. And when we go to our Supabase project, you can see our application right here, and then we can click on authentication and we see the user that we just created right here with the email dominicebere@icloud.com. And then when we go to the table editor and click on LDIX user, you also see the user's data right here with the same email created at full name and so on and so forth. So in this particular video, we're going to see how to set up authentication in Supabase project, and in the part 2 of this same video, whose link will be in the description below, we're going to see how to set up the email SMTP. So when we click on email right here and we go to SMTP settings, then you can see that we're receiving and sending emails on this support@ldix.store. So this is a custom domain that we created by ourselves. So in the part 2 of this same tutorial, you're going to see how to set up the SMTP settings on your Supabase project so that you can receive and send email from a custom domain. And we'll also be able to see the email right here. So you can see this is the email box at privateemail.com provided to us by Namecheap. So we use Namecheap to put everything together. So without further ado, let's get right into the authentication using Supabase. This is my VS Code here. So let's go to the desktop and create the folder for this project. On the desktop, I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it Supabase Setup Auth. And then I'm going to drag the folder into my VS Code. So right here, we're going to spin up a new expo project. So I'm going to open up the terminal, control backticks, and I'm going to run npx create expo app at latest. And for my project name, I'm going to provide a dot. This means that I want my app name to be the same with the folder name we have here, Supabase Setup Auth, and wait for a while for our project to finish installing. Our project is ready. So what we can do now is try to install some other dependencies that we want to be able to use within this project. For example, we want to use tailwind to style up things a bit. But before then, let me go ahead and clear the terminal and then start this project on localhost port 8081 by running the command npm start. And now we can scan this code to actually view the project on our mobile phone. But for me, I'd like to use a simulator within my system. So I'm going to use the iOS simulator. And what I'm going to do is just to drag this by the side a bit. So in this way, we're able to see both the simulator and our VS Code. Now I'm just going to press I on my keyboard to run the project on the simulator. Yep. And our Expo project is ready. Now the next thing will be for us to look at the folder structure that we have right here. So we have the app folder and we have the tabs within the app, and we have layout and not found as well. Now within the tabs, we have another layout just for the tabs, and we have Explorer and Index. The Index is responsible for what we're seeing right now on the Home tab, and the Explorer will be responsible for what we'll be seeing on the Explore tab. Now let's start by modifying things a bit. So I'm just going to go to the root layout right here and check things out. I don't think we need to make much changes right here. This is just the root layout and it's returning this theme provider, wrapping up the stack right here for the tabs and the not found. So this is okay. Now let's go to the tabs and look at the layout for the tabs. The layout for the tabs is just having the tabs and then wrapping the screen. That's the index and the Explore. So let's go to the index first of all, which is responsible for what we're seeing right now on the home page or on the home screen. And what I'm going to do is actually take all of this return, the JSX, take out everything, and then bring in something else for the home. So I'm going to type in return, and within the return, we're going to have the JSX for this home page. Now let me take these styles away. We don't need these styles. So before we bring in any JSX here, I want us to install Native in our application. Now let's go to our browser and go to Native, and you can read more about Native, but it's basically a way to bring in Tailwind CSS into our Expo app. So I'm going to scroll down and see if I can find a way to install native wind. Okay, right here is installation. And we can run some command if we're working with expo SDK 50+. And what I'm going to do is just to copy this command here. And you can see all of the dependencies that we're going to be installing for this project. Native wind, tailwind CSS, React Native Reanimated, React Native Safe Area Context. So copy this and head over to our VS Code and then open up the terminal. This one is running our server, so let me create a new one and paste in right there. Meanwhile, let me just bring this one down, the browser, so we know where we are working on. Enter to install all of these dependencies. So we're going to give it a while to install completely. Okay, it's done installing, and of course we're going to have some errors right here on the app. Now let's close off this one and then come back right here to reload our application. There seems to be some more errors. So what I'm going to do is stop the project by pressing Ctrl+C. So sometimes when you install some dependencies in your application, you're going to get some errors. So what you can do is, first of all, stop the server and run it from the beginning. So I'm going to clear things out and run npm start one more time and then click on reload so that the app can reload, and we're back. All right, so now if we go to our index right here, we're going to bring in our JSX, and for that I already have some JSX that I want to paste right here. This is the JSX that we're going to be having right here. For view, we're going to be importing that. It's going to be coming from React Native. For text, we're going to be importing that as well, and we can save. All right, now we've saved and we're not seeing anything on the screen. So that means we've not set up things completely. So for that, let's go back to the browser and see what we need to do next. And here, after installing the dependencies, we need to set up tailwind CSX. So what we can do is to create this file as directed, the tailwind.config.js, and copy all of this into that file. Let me bring this right here and come right here. So we're going to do that within the root of our application. So I'm going to create the file tailwind.config.js and paste everything right here and save. And next, we're going to create a CSS file and add the tailwind directives. So let me copy this one as well and create a global.css file and paste all of this code here and save. And next, let's add the babel.config.js and paste the code right there. And now let's look at what we can do next. Modify our metro.config.js. So we don't have any metro.config.js file. So we're going to create it and paste all of this code right there and save. And the next step will be to import the global.css into our app.js file. So if you look right here inside of our root application, we don't have any app.js. Rather, we have this layout, the root layout. So what we're going to do is to import the global.css right within this file. So I'm going to import it manually, and we're going to have global.css and save as well. Now, the next thing will be to modify our app.json, and we're going to have the bundlers metro for the expo configuration right here. Now let's go to our package.json, or rather app.json, and then we can see we have expo right here. And do we have anything like bundler? Yes, we do have the web bundler right here already. So we don't need to do anything. It's already right here for us. And after that, TypeScript optional and the rest of them. So we're done with native wind. So what I'm going to do is close off the browser and we are all good to go. And after this, I need to close up all the tab and restart the application one more time. So let me close all of the tabs and restart the application one more time. Yep, and open up the terminal, reload, or in fact, we can actually stop the server and clear, and then run it one more time. npm start, reload. Oh yes, so now we have this beautiful looking text for the home. Now that we have our Tailwind CSS working properly in our app, the next thing is to bring in authentication, because with authentication, we'll be able to have the user sign up through their email. So what we're going to do now is come right here, and within the app folder, we're going to have a route group. So create a new folder, auth, and then within the auth folder right here, we're going to have a new file. I'm going to call it signup.tsx. So this signup.tsx is a page that's going to allow the user to be able to sign up or register in the application. And for this, we can say const sign up. We have the fat arrow function, and then we can just return some JSX right here, and we can export default sign up. Let's bring in some states that will help us to make this sign up work properly. So for this, we have the email and set email. We have password and set password. We have is secure and set is secure, and we have loading and set is loading. And we're all going to be using useState right here. So we need to import useState from React. So at the initial time, email will be an empty string, the same with the password, and is secure will be a state that is going to help us to make the password that we type in visible or invisible. And loading is a state that will help us to know when we're signing users up so that we can change the UI as we deem fit. Now for the JSX, we're going to return a bunch of JSX wrapped in a safe area view. And this is just a bunch of JSX that will help us to bring the text inputs and then a button that we can click to sign up the user. For this safe area view, we're going to be importing it coming from React Native, as well as the text, the view, and the text input as well. For this one, placeholder text color, we can have it as gray, like so. The same with this one, wrapped up in a string. And for this, we have touchable opacity. We should import it as well. And these octagons, there are icons that will be coming from expo vector icon. So we import it as well. And for the pressable, we're going to be importing it as well from React Native. So all of the errors are gone. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to find a way to render this sign up page on our app so that we can see what we have. And one way we can do this is to go to the home page and conditionally render some TSX. So we can go to the tabs and we go to the index, and right within this index, we want to have a const for now that says signed up, and we set it to false. Then we want to say if not signed up, that is if no user is currently signed up into our application as we have currently. Then what we want to do, we want to return the sign up page. So we're going to come right here and return the sign up. And as soon as we do that, we're able to see the sign up page. So this is looking a little bit ugly. So let's go back to the sign up page and try to make things better a little bit. For the text input, we can have a class and we say the padding should be about, let's say 6. Okay, that's much better. And we're going to have the same thing for the text input right here, padding of 6. Yes. So this is for the password. This is for the email. And for the view right here for the password, you can see we have this touchable opacity right here, which has the icon, is responsible for the icon right here. So we want to be able to click on this to either make the password visible or not, but they are not on the same row, right? So let's add some styling on the view. So right here, you're going to say flex of row, yeah, and then we'll have to justify center and items center as well, yeah. So they are now on the same line, looking better. And for the sign up, I think right here we have a height of 20. Let's make it a height of 14. Yeah, this is much better. And for this pressable, wrapping the view right here, we can have rounded to Excel just to make the borders curved a bit. And then we can have margin top of 6. And then for the width, we can have a width of 90%. Yeah. And then we can make this to be at the center, the button. So we have self center. And yeah, this is just a little bit better. Let's not dwell too much on the UI because this is just all about authentication and connecting with the SMTP on our Supabase. Okay, so this is what we have with sign up. And right below this pressable, we also want to have a button where we can click on to go to the sign in page, which we're going to create in Earnest. So let's have this same pressable right here. Let's have it below here, but this time it's not going to have a background color of orange. And then we're going to make the text here to be white. Yeah, and instead of sign up, we're going to say sign in. And in order to make this look a bit better, I'm going to have a class name right here as well, and text will be 2XL. So let's increase the size of the text. Yeah, sign up, and we can click on right here to sign in. All right, I think this is already a lot better. Now we're just going to copy this whole thing and create the sign in. So inside of the auth folder, we're going to have a file and we'll call it signin.tsx, and we'll paste everything right here and just make a few changes. So first of all, it's going to be sign in instead of sign up, and then right here we're going to have sign up. So we'll link to the sign up page instead, and here it's going to be sign in. Yeah, and that will be all. And inside of the sign up, let's see what we have. So we need to be able to link to the sign in page from here, so we can have an onPress handler on this pressable. So onPress, I'm going to have fat arrow function that's going to just say router, and router will be coming from expo router. So we need to import that dot navigate. You can just navigate to the sign in page right here, and within the sign in page, we're also going to do the same thing. So for this pressable, we're going to have an onPress handler for the pressable. So we have onPress, it's going to use an arrow function. So router coming from expo router dot navigate, and we're navigating to sign up like so. So we need to save the files. So now when we come right here on our home and click on sign in, okay, it says that this screen, it doesn't exist. So what we need to do is to register the sign up and the sign in inside of the root layout. All right, so we'll go right here. This is the root layout. Let's see what it has. So we have the tabs, and let's copy this one right here and have it within here, and instead of tabs we're going to say auth like so, and save. And then let's go to the auth folder itself, and we can also create a layout right here. So within the auth folder, let's create the layout. So that will be underscore layout.tsx, and then we can have const auth layout will be equals this arrow function, and then we're going to be returning some JSX, right? And we're going to return stack from expo router, and within the stack we're going to have the sign in like so, and we can duplicate this one, and we'll also have the sign up like so. And mind you, the codes right here for the UI and for this entire project is going to be found in the link below, so you can go to GitHub and look at the JSX and the stylings and everything. So now that we've set things up, let's reload this and see. So if I click on sign in, yes, we go to the page to sign in, and if we click on sign up, we go to the page to sign up. But if you look here, we see having these headers right here. We don't want them to be visible, and right here we seems to be able to click this, and then at a point it stops navigating. So instead of having navigate, so when we go to sign up, instead of having navigate, let's just replace. Will be better here, and save. And for the sign in as well, we're going to replace. So we're going to replace the stack, whatever we have on the stack, we'll replace it with the current page, right? And save. And again for the header, so let's go to the layout. So this is the auth layout, and header shown is set to false for the sign in and sign up. Let's go to the root layout, and for the auth we have header shown to be false as well. So everything should be working properly. So what I'm going to do is come right here, clear, and then reload and sign in, but the header is still showing. So let's check things out together. Okay, so we have this root layout, everything is okay right here, and for the auth layout everything is okay, just that we're not exporting this auth layout, so we need to export it down here like so, and save. And now let's reload. Okay, now it's saying sign in, and let's go to the sign up. Right here we seem to be saying sign in, so that's wrong, so let's make it sign in like so. And let's check what we named our file. So it's supposed to be sign in and not sign in. These are some of the things that can make you go crazy trying to debug some errors. All right, so we have it properly written now, and we can save all of our files and then try to reload the app, and hopefully we'll not have the header. Yes, okay, and let's try to take in some text right here. Yes, we can. And for the password, so you see it's invisible, but if you click here you can see the password. Very good. So now we're ready to get emails and password from the user and sign them up. And in order to do that properly, we'll need to bring in Supabase into our application. So let's head over to our browser and go to Supabase to create an application. So right here is my Safari browser, and I'm going to visit supabase.com. Supabase is quite a unique platform, and they offer services relevant to your application, and they offer services that you can also find on Firebase. You can see right here it says Supabase is an open source Firebase alternative, and they're quite bold in their claims, but it's really a fantastic platform to work with. All right, so now what we need to do is go to a dashboard, but before you can see a dashboard, you need to create an account, or you need to sign in if you already have an account. All right, so I already have an account. If you don't have one, you can create one, and then you sign in, and then you'll be able to see your dashboard. So let's click on that. So for you to start working inside of Supabase, you need to create organizations, and currently I have 2 organizations right here. And within organizations, you can create your project. For example, instead of my LDIX organization, I have a project called Augmented Reality. So the new project that I'm going to be creating now for our application is going to be within the LDIX organization. So I can come right here and click on New Project and select the organization. And then project name is going to be Supabase SMTP auth, like so. And for the database password, you can choose a strong password of your choice. So I'm going to choose, and then you can choose a region that you want and click on Create Projects. It's going to take a while to spin up completely, so you can wait for some seconds. But before that, let me show you some of the things that Supabase has. So you can have database instead of Supabase. You can have authentication. You can have storage, where you can have your files such as music files, audio files, images, and so on. You can also write edge functions. And Supabase has or works with PostgreSQL, an SQL database within it. And so if you like SQL, Supabase will really be fun for you. And you can see logs, API docs, and advisors, and a whole lot of other things. But the main thing about Supabase is that you can have database there, authentication, so you have users sign up inside of your application and sign in and all of that. You can store stuffs, and you can write edge functions, and you can use real-time services, all from Supabase. So Supabase is a back-end as a service. Whatever service you need for your application, you can usually find it within Supabase. It's really awesome. So now we want to bring in users into a platform that is authenticate users. And for that, Supabase has a lot of templates that we can use based on the technologies that you're working with. For example, we're working with Expo React Native. And if we go to the docs, so I'm going to create a new tab and go to supabase.com and click on docs. You can see right here, it says getting started. You can set up and connect a database in just a few minutes, which is what we need, right? We want to be able to bring in users, and those users will be stored in the database. So we can click on any of this. For example, I can click on React, and then you get more options right here. You can see Next.js, React, and all of that. So we can scroll down, and we're going to find the one for mobile tutorials, and we have Expo React Native. So this is the guide that Supabase provides for those working with Expo React Native to be able to bring in user. You can see right here, it says build a user management app with Expo React Native. So we're going to be using this guide right here for that. And Supabase also describes some of the functions or services it renders or offers. So you have Supabase database, is a Postgres database for storing user data and has this row level security right there. And you have Supabase auth for signing up user and logging users in, and Supabase storage where users can upload a profile photo and much more. All right. So let's scroll down and see. So we have the project set up, and before we can start building, we need to start a new project in Supabase, which we already have here, the Supabase SMTP auth project we have. And I can see it's still spinning up. So while it's spinning up, we can continue with the docs. Now we'll create a new project. We've done that. Enter your project details and wait for the new database to launch. Yes, we've done this one. And the next one will be to set up the database schema. So we need to go to the SQL editor page in the dashboard and click on user management starter and click run. Okay, so right there they have an already made SQL codes that we can run. So if we come right here, our project is still spinning up. But if we go to the SQL editor and we have templates here, and we can scroll down, let's see, we can have quick start instead, and you can see we have this user management starter. All right, so if we click on that, you can see we have this bunch of SQL codes that we can run, and it even has some triggers that can run when a user signs up into our application. Another thing we should note is when a user signs up on our application, the data of that user is first of all stored inside of the users table right here that Supabase has created. So this users table will store the user's data. It will have the user's email, and it's going to encrypt the password. It's going to have the date that the user signed up. It's going to have the last time the user signed up, and even the means through which the user signed up. For example, if the user signed up using GitHub, Facebook, email, and so on and so forth. All right, so that is one thing to bear in mind. The user's data will be first stored right here. Okay, so now if you look at this SQL data, we have a trigger here that runs. This trigger right here has his name as public.handle new user, and is going to into public.profiles. So this profile right here is a table, creating a table called profile. So this profile can be your own special profiles table. It can be a special table. In fact, we can name it anything we want. So if we rename it here, then we also have to rename things here and all of that. So this is just a template that we can use. But the important thing is that we have a trigger right here that will run and add a row of data to our profiles table right here when a user signs up. So when the user signs up and his data is stored in the users table right here, then we'll take this information from the users table and then store it in our own special profiles table, which later on we're going to see the table right here, which will be created for us by the trigger that we have inside of this place. All right, so we're going to see how it works soon enough, and we'll get things started. But for now, I want to copy all of this query and delete them because I already have the one that I want to use, but it's basically the same thing, just a little bit changes in the name. And right here, I'm going to paste. Right here, we have the codes, the SQL code that will be running. So we're going to be creating a new table called LDIX users. This table is created by us, and we're going to be using to store the data of the information. We're going to be using to store the data of the user that has just signed up into our application. So we want to store things like the ID, we want to store the updated, which is the time the user updated his account, and we want to store username of the user, we want to store email, created that when the user joined into our application, the full name of the user, avatar URL. This avatar URL will be used to store the URL of the user's avatar. We can also store website for the user. So we can store any data that we want right here. This gives us a whole lot of flexibility. We can store different sort of data, unlike the users table, which Supabase provides to us. That one is just for authentication, just to authenticate the user. And now we're creating our own users table right here, and we're enabling row level security. Row level security is enabled on our LDIX users table, and row level security is all about knowing who can access what data on our table. And yeah, so we're also having some triggers, something that will run each time a user is signed up in our application. And each time a user is signed up, what this is doing is that it's going to take the user's data from that user's table, the one that Supabase provides, and populate our LDIX users table right here. So that's what this function is doing. Okay, and we're also having a bucket. You can see this one is to set up storage. So we're going to store the user's avatar URL inside of this avatars bucket right here. And that's what we have. And we're also saying that avatar images are publicly accessible. So that's why we have this right here. And we're also saying that anyone can upload an avatar to the avatar's storage. So that's what we have right here. So this is the SQL code that will be helping us, and I'm going to run this code, and it returns success, no rows, return. So now if we go to table editor, we would not find that LDIX users table right here because we have not signed in any user into our application. And if you go to storage, you will not see any bucket at the moment. So now that we've run the SQL code, when we sign up a user, then we can have this LDIX users table. All right, and we can rename this actually. So we can have rename query. You can just say LDIX users query and click on rename. Yeah, and so we've renamed it. So each time we want to run this query, we can just have it here. You can just click on run. So now let's get back to the docs right here, and we'll run the query. And now we can also pull the database schema down into our local project, but there is no need since this is just a very simple project, so we can skip this one for now. And now the next thing is to get the API keys. So in order to get that, we'll need to go to our API settings in the dashboard and find our URL, anon, and service row keys on the page. Okay, and if we go back here and scroll down, you can find the project settings, and inside of the project settings you can see we have the general settings, we have the Supabase SMT auth as our project's name, and then if we click on data API, we have the anon key right here, and we have our project URL. Okay, so let's get back here, and right here we need to create the expo app. We already have an app, so we can skip this one since we already created an expo app. And then we need to install all of these packages: npx expo install Supabase, Supabase.js, and React Native async storage, and React Native UI themed. So let me copy this one right here and then get back to our VS Code. So within here, we're going to open up the terminal. And I'm going to open a new terminal, and then paste all of the code right here. So let's give it some time to install all of these dependencies that will enable us to work with Supabase. So here we need to create a lib folder and have a supabase.ts file, and then we need to have all of this code inside of the supabase.ts file. So let's copy this one and get back to our VS Code. And right here I'm going to create a lib folder, and within the lib folder I'm going to create a new file called supabase.ts, and then I'm going to paste all of the codes that we have copied right here. So for this Supabase URL, we're going to replace it with our Supabase URL, and for the Supabase anon key, we're going to replace this with our Supabase anon key. So let's do that. Come back to the Supabase documentation, or go back to our project, and we can find our project URL. So we can copy this and open up the VS Code one more time, and Supabase URL will be replaced by this one. And we'll go back here and copy the anon key, and make sure you don't reveal your service row secret. This is to be kept secret. Let's get back to VS Code and replace this one right here. And of course, we're supposed to wrap this in quotes like so. All right, so we're good to go. And you can see this is exporting a Supabase client right here. So we're using create client, and create client is coming from Supabase.js that we just installed right now. So we use this create client function, and it accepts the Supabase URL and Supabase anon key as arguments, and then it has this object with it, having storage as async storage, auto refresh token as true, and persist session as true, and detect session in URL as false. All right, so this is what we have simply. So the next thing we need to do is to set up a login component, and I think we already did that. And instead of that login component, we're going to have this function, a sync function, sign in with email, sign up with email. All right, so from here we can copy some of the codes that we need and be able to sign up the user inside of our application. All right, so we just need this sign up with email function. We can have it inside of our sign up screen. So let's get back to our VS Code. We can copy this one already, all of this, and I already modified it a bit. So let's get back to our VS Code. And in fact, what I'm going to do is now to close up most of the files we have open so we can have something clean to work with. And right here, let's get to our sign up within the app. We'll go to the auth and go to sign up. So within this sign up, we're going to have a function just after the states that we defined above, and paste this right here. And we have Supabase. This Supabase will be coming from the Supabase client that we just created and exported inside of the lib folder right here. So let's import that, coming from lib folder. And we can also give some alerts. The alert will be coming from React Native. Yes. So what are we doing right here instead of this sign up with email function? First of all, we set loading to true so that we know that we're signing up a user, and then we'll get and await this supabase auth.signup. So this supabase.auth.signup is a function coming from Supabase itself, and it's all available since we have that Supabase client. All right, so it's an API coming from Supabase that we can use to sign up a user using the user's email and a password. All right, and then since we're getting data right here, an error. So if there is any error, we want to set loading to false and console log that error, and then return an alert with the error message. And remember, the email, we'll be getting the email from the user right here in state, and we'll also be getting the password in state. All right, and yes, that's what we have. Now we're ready to test things out. So we need to pass this sign up with email function to the button, to the sign up button right here. So let's get to the sign up button, and we can have an onPers handler for the pressable, and it's going to take a function, and we're just going to call the sign up with email function right here, and we can save this one. So whenever we click this sign up button, then we're going to sign up the user with the email and the password, and we can also conditionally render the text right here. So we can say loading. So if loading is true, then we want to say signing up. You can put any other piece of UI that you prefer there. Otherwise, we want to say sign up like so and save. And let's take this one out. We don't need that. So when it's loading, that is when the user is still signing up, we want to display this text. But after the user is done signing up, that is when loading is now false, we want to have sign up instead. And also we want to disable this button when the user is still signing up, so that the user would not continually click on the button. So we can come on the pressable and use disabled, and disabled will be equals to loading like so, and save. So now let's try to sign up and see what happens. So I'm going to provide my mail, dominic@icloud.com, and then for the password, I'm going to make it invincible and click on sign up. So you can see we have signing up right here, and we're not getting any other feedback. We're just having the sign up there. So it means we have not done some justice to the function right here. So let's get back. We're setting the loading to false. We also need to set the loading to false after everything, right? This one is if there is an error. Okay, so I'm sure we got signed up. So in order to make sure of that, let's get back to our Supabase and look at the users table, and then also look if the LDIX users table was created and populated for us. Let's go to the authentication, and you can see right here we have this user. In fact, let me make this browser a little bit smaller so we can see everything. So we signed up with this dominic@icloud, and I can see here it's saying waiting for verification. Let's go to the email right here, or go to the sign in, sign up, and since we're signing up a user using the mail, let's click on here, and we can choose not to confirm the email first of all, so we don't need to confirm email. So any user we sign up will be automatically authenticated or verified. Okay, so if you also go to the SQL table editor, the LDIX table was not created for us. So what we can do first of all is to come right here to the authentication and delete this user that we just signed up. So we're going to sign up the user again, and you see that since we disabled the verification, we don't need to wait for verification next time, right? So let's delete this user. And I think we also created an avatar. Okay, there was no bucket created right here, but I want to show you something. Initially, we had the verification for users enabled on the email, which we just toggled off right now. I have received an authentication email to authenticate my sign up. So if I go to my mailbox, you can see we have this Supabase auth that just got sent to me, and it says, follow this link to confirm your user. And you can see this email is coming from Supabase auth. Meanwhile, we always want to have the email coming from our brand, something like ldix.com or ldix, so that it represents our brand, right? And Supabase frowns at this way of sending email. Right now, we're getting email from Supabase API, but in due course, we're going to set up some SMTP right here. We're going to have our own SMTP settings right here, so that we'll have a place, a designated place where our authentication emails will be coming from. Okay, but for now, let's deal with how the user is being signed up into our application. So now let's get back to the SQL editor, because when we signed up that user, the first user we just signed up now, we're supposed to have our LDIX user table created for us, but none was created. And so that means something went wrong with the SQL we have run here. So let's look at the codes that we have right here. Let's look at the trigger. And the reason why we didn't have that run is because right here, we're only going to create a new user. That is, we're only going to create a new data in the LDIX users table when the user is now confirmed. If you notice previously, the user's email was not verified. So because of that, we were not able to create a new data in our LDIX users table. But now that we've disabled the email right here, authenticating here, the confirm email, so it means that the next user will sign up will have his email verified already, and that means we can have a user inside of our LDIX users table. All right, so what we're going to do is come back to the SQL editor and run this code, okay? And let's run the code again, okay? And we have an error that says anyone can upload an avatar for table objects already exists. So it means that some of the functions or triggers that we created earlier on still exist, so we need to take those down. And in order to show you how powerful Supabase is, you can actually debug this with Supabase AI and click here, so it knows what error we're facing, so you can debug the error. I know why the error is occurring. It's because we already have this policy existing right here, so we need to get that policy off so that we can run this SQL query from afresh. All right, so let's run this query. So it says relation does not exist. Okay, so what we can do one more time is to actually come to the functions. Let's see if we can find it here. And since we can't find it here, what we can do is actually go back to the SQL editor, and we'll create a new query to actually take off this policy off. So what we're going to do is click on plus and a new snippet, and we're going to run a query right here. And inside here, we're going to have this query to drop trigger on auth user verified. We created this on auth users verified here, so we want to drop it. So let's run this one. Okay, it says it does not exist. So let's create another query, and this time let's have this right here, the drop function handle new user cascade. That means it's going to drop every other thing associated with it. So if we go back to this LDIX user, we have this handle new user that we created, this one right here. So we want to drop it, handle new user. So let's run this and see. Okay, it's saying could not find a function handle new user. So let's run our query again and see if it goes well. Let's see. Anyone can upload an avatar for table objects already exists. Okay, so this is what we need to take care of. So it's in policy. So let's see if we can find the policy. So let's create another snippet right here. And in fact, I'm going to copy this code from here and paste it right here and run. Okay, saying objects does not exist. Okay, on, not on objects. Let's look at this query we have right here. So if we look here, you can see that that's anyone can upload an avatar is on this storage.objects. So let's copy this one instead and get back right here and paste this right here and run. Okay, so now it returns success. Very good. And possibly we also need to create another snippet, and we need to, let's copy this one, paste it right here and get back here. For the LDIX user query, we also need to drop this one just in case it exists. So this one, this policy, avatar images are publicly accessible. So we'll copy that as well and come right here and paste it right here on storage.objects. And let's see if everything is right. Yep. So let's run that as well. Okay, it does not exist. Okay, so I think we're good to go. So let's try to run the LDIX users query one more time. So all these things were dropping is because the first time we ran the query, a lot of functions, triggers were created for us. So we need to drop them and run this again. So after dropping them, we're able to successfully run the query one more time. So what we're going to do now is get back to our VS Code and try to sign up the user one more time. So you can see this is still saying signing up. So let's reload, open up the terminal, go back to the server and reload, and let's sign up. So Dominic Ebere at iCloud.com, and for the password, I'm going to provide a password and sign up. So it's still signing up the user, but Now it's taking too much time. So that means, oh, okay, I know why it's still showing signing up, because loading is still true and we're trying to set it to false right here. But of course there was no error, otherwise it would have returned an alert. So we'll still come back to this. Now let's get back to our Supabase, and then let's go to the authentication, and we'll have a new user. Okay, and let's go to the table editor, and now we have our LDIX users, and you can see the data was populated here, and that's because we no longer require verification of email by users, right? So this one got populated. And if we go to the storage as well, you also find the avatars storage right here with nothing in it for now. All right, so it means everything is working properly for the Supabase backend. But the issue now is that our UI is not updating properly, so we're still having the loading to be true. And for that, we can come right here and take this out and say if not error. So if there is no error, then we want to set loading to false, like this. So we've already created this user already. So that means we need to delete the user one more time from the database, because this is the only email that I want to use. Okay, so what we can do is go back to our Supabase application and delete the user that we just created. And it means we also need to rerun those queries that we ran earlier on. Okay, let's go. So right here, let's go to the authentication and delete this user one more time. Yes, we've been able to delete the user. And let's get to the table editor. We still have this user, right? So we can actually delete this table, delete everything, drop everything in cascade. Yeah, so we want to drop the table. Even for the storage, we also want to delete this storage, this bucket. And then we go back to the SQL editor and we can try to create this query one more time. So let's do that. Let's run. Yeah, so it's going to say handle new user. So let's find that query for handle new user. So let's run this to drop the handle new user. And so now we can run this query again to create everything for us from afresh. All right, so success returned, no rows returned. Good. So let's go back to our VS Code and try to sign up a user one more time. I guess we're going to do this a few more times because we're also going to authenticate users with email and all of that. So let's keep going. And all the codes that we have here and the query, everything will be in the description below. And you also have it on GitHub, so you can look around as well. And let's go back to our VS Code. If there is no error, we want to set loading to false. So let's try to reload our application one more time by opening up the terminal and pressing R on our keyboard and try to sign up this user one more time. But maybe before we sign, we also want to be able to take the user to the home page, right? Yeah, so that's what we want to do. So if there is no error, we want to take the user to the home page, but then we also need a way to bring in a session. We need to hold the data for the user and for the session as well inside of our application. So based on that, we can redirect users to any page, such as the home page, after signing up, because we can sign up the user and then we'll get the session immediately and sign in the user. So for that, we need to have a way to keep track of the session and the user itself. And before we include the functionality of storing the user session and the user itself, let's try to sign up this user one more time and then see if the sign up UI here changes. All right, so let's click on sign up. It's signing up and now you can see it stopped. So that means it has signed up the user, and at which point we're supposed to go to another page, maybe the home page and all of that. So that means if we go to our Supabase application and go to the authentication, we're going to get another user right here. Okay, we've signed up another user, and if we definitely go to the table editor, we're going to find the LDIX users table created for us again, and with all the data populated that we need. Okay, and that means this is cool. And you can even see this avatar URL. You can see is this, the value is this pixabay.com image right here, and everything is working because we have this trigger right here. You can see we set the image right here when a new user is created. Okay, so now that we have everything working up, so we can sign up a user, and the data from the users table right here from Supabase will be sent to our own table right here, LDIX users table. So things are working properly. Now the next thing we need to do is to be able to store the session of the user and the user data inside of our own application, and based on that, we're going to navigate the user to a different page and all of that. So let's do that, and I'll come to my VS Code right here. And for us to do that, I'm going to come right here within the application itself. I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it context. So I want to create a context folder, and within this context folder, I'm going to have a provider file. So GlobalUserProvider. So this is where we're going to be having the codes that will enable us to store our user and session like so. And in fact, we're supposed to name this GlobalUserProvider.tsx. So let's rename, because we're going to be having some JSX within, and we're going to have all of this code right here instead of our GlobalUserProvider.tsx file. And what we're doing here is that we're importing Supabase from our lib folder. So the Supabase client that we created earlier on, and we're importing a session type from Supabase.js that we installed earlier as one of the dependencies. And we're having create context, use effect, use state, all coming from React. And we're having two interfaces here: global user context params and user params. And then we have this global user context, which is having a context field. So we're using create context right here. And this create context is going to be of type global user context params or undefined. Okay. And right here, we're not exporting this global user provider, and of course having children of React type, React node, and we're having states here, the user state and the session state. So for this user, we're going to be using to store the user, and is of type user params. So the user is going to have an avatar URL, email, and an ID. And for the session will be of type session, which is coming from Supabase that we defined earlier on, that we imported, right? And we have use effect right here, and this use effect has a function definition. So the function we define here is fetch session. So we want to get session, and for the first time our application runs, of course there will be no session, right? And we'll have this function. So we're trying to get the session, and at that time there will be no session. So we're now checking if there is session. Just in case there is session, then we hook up with our Supabase client and fetch a user from our LDIX user database based on the ID, where the ID of the user from the LDIX users table is equal to session.user.id. So remember, when a new user is authenticated and the data is stored in the users table, the ID right there inside of the users table. So if we go right here and check our authentication, so this ID right here will be the same thing as the ID we have for this user, all right? So you can see it's exactly the same thing. So we want to fetch the user from the database where the ID of that user in the database is equal to the session.user.id that we have. And if there is any error, we want to log the error to the console. And so now we have a try catch block where we now try to run the fetch session function, and then we have this from Supabase as well on auth state change that will help us to play the session when a user signs out and fetch the session when a user signs in. And then if there is any error, we're going to catch the error and log it to the console. So that's what we're having instead of the use effect. All right, and then we're having the provider here. So we are providing the user and the session, and of course we also have this user global user context, which will help us to define where this user and session can be used. So we're going to wrap this instead of our root layout so that all pages within our application will have access to the user and the session. So that's what we're going to do right here. And if we try to access user or session outside of those pages wrapped in with the context, then we'll not be able to get the user and session. And in fact, we're going to throw up an error. So right now it's time for us to save this file, and then we'll wrap the context in our root layout. Come right here and let's go to the apps, and we'll have the root layout. And so I'm going to take everything off here, and we're going to have the global user provider right here, and we'll paste all of this other JSX right here as the children. So these are the children, right? Go back right here and scroll down. Yeah, so the children are these ones right here. Okay, so let's save this one, and not now, and global user provider will save as well. And now that we have this running, so what we can do is close up all of this, and let's go to our tabs and go to the index right here. And right here we have this sign up initially, so we're going to take this one out, and now we're going to be getting the session and user as we deem fit. So user and session, they'll be coming from, we have use global context right here. And here, instead of sign up, we're going to use session instead, or user. So we can say if not session, then we want the user to go sign up because there is no session. But of course, if there is a session and if there is a user, and in fact, I'm going to say if not session or not user. So we want to make sure we both have a session and we'll have a user as well. And we're going to turn the user to the sign up, and we can just save. And as soon as we save, we'll find this page instead. And in order to check things better, we can open up the terminal and reload. Okay, you can see we have sort of infinite loop. Okay, that means we were not checking for some dependencies in our use effect. So let's Control C, stop the server, and go back to what we have right here within the global provider. So let's go to context and click on GlobalUserProvider. And for this, we'll have to find a way just to run the use effects based on certain factors, or we can provide an empty dependency array. So I'm going to come right here and do that here and save. Also, within the index, we want to also see if we have a session. So I'm going to console.log the session and user, so, and save. And now let's open up the terminal and clear out what we have from here and start the application one more time. Okay, now we're going to open it and let's reload. Okay, now you can see the use effect is no longer running repeatedly, and also you can see we have this session and the user as well. They are all right here. We can see this value, and so that's why we're directed to the Feel at Home Supabase SMTP email setup. That is the home page, right? And this is cool. You can see we now have a session right here. Now that we've been able to get our session as well, the next thing we want to do is to be able to authenticate the user's email. So when the user signs up, we want to send a code or a token to the user's email and let the user use that email to authenticate into the application. Currently, when we sign up a user, the user just gets into the application and there is a session already. Okay, but now we want to make it such that when the user signs up, we send the user to another page to impute the token he just got, and then after imputing the correct token, we can sign the user in, because right now you can see the user is signed in. All right, so in order to do that, let's get back to our Supabase right here, and as usual, you already know the drill. We have to delete our users table, our LDIX users table, and delete all of the storage, the avatar storage that we have, and some of the triggers that we prepared from before, and then rerun everything again, right? So I'll start by going to the authentication and deleting this user. Yes, I want to delete the user. And for the storage, I'm going to delete and then let me go to the table editor, and I'm going to delete this table as well. Check on drop table with cascade, and then go to the SQL editor where we can run some queries. But before we run this query, we'll need to run this query, right? But before that, we need to drop certain things, because if we run it straight ahead, we're going to get some errors. For example, it says handle new user exists. So let's go here and drop this one, run, successful. And now we can run the query. It's successful as well. So now let's get back to authentication and then go to sign in, sign up. So here we have email. We're signing up users with our email. So you can click on here and click on confirm email and then save. And then the next thing is to go look at the template of the emails that is being sent to our users. If I open up my mail right here, you can see we have this Supabase auth email sent to us initially to confirm our mail. Right here, just a magic link to confirm our email, and you see the template right inside of the Supabase. But also, as I mentioned earlier, this is Supabase API sending us this email, and Supabase does not want us to do things like this. Supabase prefers that we set our SMTP records on the Supabase project so that we can send and receive emails as we want. Okay. Currently, we're still using the Supabase API, and sometimes when you do this, your application or your projects on Supabase will get locked or suspended. All right, so we're going to deal with this as well. But I wanted to show you what the email currently is looking like when a user gets an email for authentication. to sign up. So I'm going to close this email, and right here we can go to emails and we'll see that template. We see it exactly, confirm your sign up, and then we'll have the confirmation URL. So instead of confirmation URL, we can just quickly say token right here. Let's copy everything from here. We can paste this one instead. So we're going to have a token instead, and you can even add more text. So you can say confirm your sign up on LDIX, for example, and you can say use this token to sign up. You can say whatever is your token, and yes. And also I just noticed we have already decided to use token, so what we can do is just get this off here. This initially was a magic link, so we can just take this one out, the anchor tag, and we can say this token right here will be your token. So this is how we can have it, and afterwards we can just click on save. So this is the template that we're going to be using. Yes, successfully updated our settings, and we'll make sure that also we confirm email. Now we can toggle this on so that users will confirm their email before they're signed up into the application. Now the next thing is to go back to our VS Code and provide a page where the user can enter the token from the email and get things up and get signed in into the application. So right here, we're back to our VS Code. I'm going to close this one off, and right here, right within the app folder, I'm going to create a separate folder, not within the tabs, no, but within app directly. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it confirm, like so. So this is a route, right? And within the confirm, I'm going to have another file. Let's have a file called token confirmation.tsx. So this is going to be a dynamic route, so that's why it's in this square brackets. So that means the token information can actually change, right? Let's do it this way and click on enter. Within token confirmation.tsx, we're going to have the codes that will enable us to authenticate the token that has been sent to the user, and then the user is going to have a session right into the application. Now for our token confirmation.tsx file, we're going to have this code right here. And before I explain what we have here, let's open up our sign up page. So right here in the sign up, remember we're trying to sign up the user. And in fact, what I'm going to do is to come right here and reload this application so that we'll see our sign up. Now the user is gone, right? The session is ended because we don't have any user on the database since we just deleted them. Now, when we click sign up right here, we want to be able to sign up the user with the email and the password. And we're running the sign up with email function right here. So what are we doing? Instead of the sign up with email function, we're setting loading to true, and then we get the data or error in any case, and then we try to sign up the user. And if there is any error, we set loading to false and log the error to the console and return an alert right here. But if there is no error, so I'm going to expand on this. So if there is no error, we want to set loading to false, but then we also want to redirect the user to the page where they're going to confirm that token, right? And that page is going to be the token confirmation. So we want to say router coming from expo router dot replace. Okay, we're not getting the replace IntelliSense, and that means we did not import this router from expo router. So let's see. Okay, it's imported right here. Okay, where do we want to send the user to? We want to send the user to the confirm route right here. And I just remembered we are yet to actually register this confirm route. So what we can do is come right here to the root layout, and then we can copy any of this one for example, and then come right here and paste that here. And instead of auth, we're going to have confirm and have a slash, and then open the parenthesis or the square brackets rather, and we have token confirmation like so. So this is what we're going to have. So we registered it inside of our root layout, and we should save that as well and close this one off. So let's have that confirm slash, and then we're going to take in dynamic param, and then that is just going to be the email right here, the email of the user. So we want to capture that email right here. So we can just capture the email right here. So we're going to confirm slash email, and now we can save this. So this email is going to represent the token confirmation, right? Because remember, this is dynamic. So if a user comes and sign up with email A, at that point, token confirmation will be that email A. at icloud.com, for example. And if another user signs up with email B at icloud.com, then token confirmation will be email B at icloud.com. You get it, right? So now we're capturing the email and then we're sending the user to the token confirmation page right here. So let's save this one as well. The token confirmation.tsx file is right here having some states, the loading state and the OTP. So initially the OTP is set to an empty string and the loading is false. So when we try to sign in with OTP, this is a function I've written, sign in with OTP. What we're trying to do is set loading to true. So that means we're trying to sign in, right? And then we get data or error from supabase.auth.verify OTP. So this is from Supabase. Supabase provides the verify OTP function so that users will be able to verify their OTP, right? And you provided the email, token, and type. So for the email, we're getting the email from this dynamic param right here. So you can see we use local search params to get the email that has been passed to this route. And we don't need this part right here. This is an extraneous code. In fact, we don't need this right here. We don't need this right here. And we just have the token confirmation. And what we can do first of all is to log in token confirmation to the console. And right here, we just have the token confirmation like so. The token confirmation is a simple string right here, which is an email that we've passed to this route. And we're capturing it here using use local search params, and then we're passing it as a value of the email right here. So, but before we even try to confirm that, we want to also log the token confirmation to the console to see what it is. And yeah, and here we're saying if session exists, so we should redirect to the tabs, okay? And we have state, OTP, and loading, and then we have this function that will try to verify the user's token. So if there is an error, we return or give an alert right here. We can also console log this session right here, okay? So as soon as there is a session, then we redirect the user to the tabs. That's why this code is really there, okay? And we're going to save this. Now let's review our code one more time before we try things out. Let's go back to the sign up. Here we're saying if not error, then set loading false, and then we'll call router the replace with these parameters here. Get the parameters, which is the email, and we catch it right here from use local search params, and we log that token confirmation, okay? And right here we pass the token confirmation as the email and token as OTP and type as sign up. So these are compulsory parameters to be passed to the verify OTP API from Supabase. The OTP will be typed in inside of this text input, and then when we press the button, we want to confirm the OTP. So right here we can actually add an on-press handler like this. So it's going to take a fat arrow function, and then we're just going to call sign in with OTP like so. So this is what we're going to have. So we'll call sign in with OTP, which is the function we have written right here. Okay, I think everything is set correctly. So let's save our files and try things again. So let me reload this application, and I'm going to enter my mail. So I'm going to say dominic@icloud.com, and for the password, I'm going to provide a password, and I'm going to click on sign up. Okay, right here it seems to have taken me to another page, the token confirmation page, and I just received a mail. Let me see. Yes, you can see Supabase is still the one sending me this mail, and it's telling me to confirm. And you can see now we have the 921841 as the OTP right there, and that means our setup is working correctly. And you can see it has confirmed your sign up on LDIX the same way we have it set up inside of our Supabase right here for the email. So you can see confirm your sign up on LDIX. So everything is working correctly. But now we're having these two input fields right here for the token confirmation. Let me first of all open up here, and you can see we're logging the email to the console. This is the email, the token confirmation, and yeah, okay. So what we need to do now is we're going to look at the token confirmation.tsx and make sure things are up properly. So this one, this is enter OTP, but I'm saying enter email. So that means something went wrong. So let's come back right here, and after signing up, we said replace with confirm stroke the email, right? So but it took us to this sign up right here. Now let's debug the reason together while we're getting this page instead of the token confirmation page. So let's go to sign up right here. It seems there is an error. So that's why, let's open up our terminal. Okay, we got an error right here. And that's why we got this and remained on the sign up page. It never took us to the token confirmation page, so there was an error. So let's see, we're trying to sign up and we got an error. Now let me open the terminal one more time and see. Okay, it's trying to say that the result contains 0 rows, hint null. Okay, so that means it tried to fetch a user from the database. Okay, but at this time there is no user inside of our database. There is no user at this time, but it was trying to fetch a user. But if you go to the authentication, you'd find that we have a user right there, although it is still waiting for authentication, right? Yeah, it's waiting for authentication. So what we need to do instead is say if not session. Remember, this session is referring to the session coming right from here. So if we don't have any session, that means we need to authenticate first of all, and that way still sets the loading to false, and then redirect us to the place where we are to confirm our token. So I'm going to save this so we can be redirected to this route so we can confirm our email on the token confirmation right here. And as usual, when we come to the Supabase right here, we go to the table editor. There is nothing there. What about storage? Yes, we have avatar. So let's delete this bucket. And then we should also delete the user that we just signed up and try things again. Delete user, and let's go to the SQL editor and let's run this query to drop things. Yes, success. And let's run this query again. So we need to run this. It's saying LDX users already exist, so that's the table. We need to delete this table and then go back to the SQL editor and run, and we'll get a success. Yes, we do. And let's try things again. So we enter the email and you can see we've already sent up to 4 more emails, and Supabase does not allow this, which means we really need to set up our own ways of sending email. So for now, let me click on sign up. Okay, not now, and still it doesn't take me to the token confirmation. Now, in order to debug this properly, let me open up the terminal one more time, and you can see we have this error right here. And I was thinking this error is coming from the sign up right here, but no, it's not. It's coming from the GlobalUserProvider right here. And so it is happening because it is trying to fetch user from the LDX users database, but there is no users there because we are yet to authenticate the user, right? That's one. Secondly, we're also getting this dominicebere@icloud.com logged to the console, which means we're coming to this page right here, the token confirmation page, because we're logging the token confirmation right here. I can prove that by adding something extra right here and saying took like this to be sure it's coming from here. All right. So, but if we're coming to this page, then why is it not showing the UI, the proper UI that should be here for us to verify our token? Instead, it is showing this UI for the sign up. Now let's see the UI we have right here. So we have this bunch of text right here. You are here. Please use OTP to sign up. And so it is very much different from what we're seeing here. Now let's go back to the sign up and see what we're doing here. What I'm going to do is comment this out first and then just have an alert, return an alert right here. They can say go to, let's put it, go to token page like so, and save this one as well. And let me clear what we have in the terminal and try to run this code. But just like before, we also need to check out our authentication table right here and make sure we delete this user. And we've been getting the token sent to our mail, but we've not authenticated yet because we are not being sent to the confirmation page. So let's see, I'm going to drop or delete the table as well, and then go to the SQL editor and run this query to drop the handle new user. And before I run the LDX user query again, let me check things properly. So we have this, and yes, okay, I think everything is okay. Let me run. Okay, it's saying avatars already exist. Now let's go to the storage and delete the avatars bucket. Come back to the SQL editor and run, and we should get success now. Okay, it's saying these avatar images are publicly accessible, does not exist. Okay, let's see. Let me run that again and see. Policy: avatar images are publicly accessible for table objects already exist. Okay, thought we just deleted the avatar bucket. Let's click on policy here. Okay, right here, let me delete this one. This is the policy. Let me delete this one as well. So no longer available. The policies have been deleted. So, and I think we're good to go. So these were the policies that I just disabled. Now let me run this again. Okay, we're having an error at near images line 1. Let's see. All right, so I just checked the SQL right here again, and let me run. Okay, now it's success, and let's get back to our VS Code. Sometimes to debug these things can be a pain, but yeah, we can go through it together. And what I'm going to do is to reload the app one more time. So the use effect has run, and let me enter the email and a password and sign up and say, okay, now we're getting the alert. Go to token confirmation page. Okay, and that means place, and we're not receiving any error because we're not logging this to the console, right? So, but it seems we're not able to, we did not direct the right place right here. I think that was the issue. So we're supposed to give this alert, and then below we will now direct the user to confirm their email. Yep. So this is what we're supposed to do. And what I'm going to do is, since we just ran this now, if we go to our Supabase project and go to the authentication, definitely we already have a user just now waiting for verification, right? So let's delete this user again. You can select right here and delete the user, and we can delete storage created. This seems to be a routine. Yeah, so avatars kit. And what about the table? LDX users was created as well, so we need to delete as well. And then we run the SQL query again. Okay, handle new user. Let's run this to drop the handle new user and run the query one more time. Yes, success. And come right here. So let's look at this replace and see if we're redirecting the user correctly. And in fact, what I'm going to do is move this token confirmation directly within the auth, because it's part of the authentication process. So this confirm folder, I'm going to have it deleted. And then when we go to our root layout, we no longer need this confirmation here. You can save that. And then go into the layouts for the authentication, we can register that here. So we can copy this one and paste. And then instead of sign up, we're going to have token confirmation like so. And we're going to save. So this is much better. So we can close some of the open files right here, and we're still on the sign up. So for the sign up, we replace with this confirm email like this. In fact, let me type this afresh. So for this one, we can just have email only. Yeah, because this email is just going to represent the dynamic route that we have here. Okay, so we can save, and let me reload this one more time. Yeah, within use effect. So let's try again and put the mail dominic@icloud.com, and for the password, I'm going to provide my password, and hopefully this time when we sign up, we'll be sent to the authentication page. Oh, we don't get sent there. Why is that so? And let's see if there is any console.log statement. Okay, none. And let me see, router, did we import router? Yes, router is coming from expo router. My bad. Now the reason we're not doing that is because we're right here returning an alert, but instead we shouldn't have the return statement here. Rather, we can have it here, because after return statement, you're not supposed to have any code below, right? My bad, I didn't see that. Okay, so we're going to save, and let's see if a user was created just now. Let's go to authentication. Yes, a user was created. So we'll delete the user, and we'll have to delete the avatar from the storage as well. Oh, now I know what has happened, because we had a return statement before the redirection, so we're not able to redirect the user. I didn't notice that. How silly. that can be okay. But I'm happy I found out now. So, I mean, we can make this kind of mistakes sometimes. So let me delete this table as well, drop with cascade. And hopefully now we'll be able to send our user to authenticate, right? Let me drop this one and then run this query one more time. Yes. And now we can reload our application, open the terminal, reload, and let's sign up one more time. So Dominic Ebere at iCloud.com. And there was a mail we're supposed to receive the last time. Probably did not come in because we're starting to abuse the Supabase email API because we've not set up our own email in Supabase. But hopefully the next email that we need will come in. So let's have a password. So password will be set to my password and I'm going to sign up. Oh yes, now we get redirected to the token page. And of course, we have the email right here. How cool is that? And that means if we put in the OTP and we confirm, then that user will be confirmed on database as well. So right here, you can see authentication. And if we go to the users, let me refresh. Okay, we have the user, but the user is not yet verified, waiting for verification. And if we go to the Audix users table, we'll see that we have no user right here. Good. So now we need to authenticate this user. And if we put in something wrong, then it would not go. Let me see what OTP or code we need right here. We need this one right here. So let me get it. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. And let me put the wrong code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and try to confirm. It said token has expired or is invalid. Okay, good. Now let's put the correct value of 172,919. So 172,919. And confirm. And when we click on confirm, what should actually happen? So right here, when we click on confirm, yeah, so the UI changes to confirming, and then we'll run the function to verify the OTP. And if there is any error, we get the error, we verify with OTP, we pass the email, we pass the token, and we pass the type, and then we'll log in session to the console, because at that point there will be a session for us, right? So let me keep the terminal open. Okay, this seems to be running over and over again because the state is updating. We're updating the state. So let me click on confirm. Yes, and as soon as I click on confirm, we get sent to the home page because now we have and the user. Because let's go to the index. Here we're saying if no session and if no user. So we're very strict here. Then we want to make sure the user is on the sign up. Otherwise, we're going to return this beautiful block of text on the home page. And if we go right to our Supabase project and we go to the table editor and click on the Audix users table, then you can see we have the users right here, of course. And if we go to authentication, we should be able to find that the user is no longer waiting to be verified. So the user has already been verified. And I think that's awesome. All right, my friends, that brings us to the end of this tutorial where we've learned how to authenticate users using Supabase, the backend as a service. And watch out for the next video where I'll be showing you how to actually add your SMTP settings on your Supabase project.